Hello and welcome to Mo Recaps. Today I will recap a movie called Gods of Egypt. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Long ago, gods and men coexisted in a paradise they built in the Egyptian territories. They stand taller than the typical person, have gold blood, and can change into a variety of dreadful creatures, making them instantly identifiable. Two brothers, Osiris played by Brian Brown, who ruled the fertile regions in the Niles, and Set played by Gerard Butler, driven to isolation in the deserts by resentment and jealousy, separated the empire. The relationships between the brothers were put to the test along with the future of Egypt when it came time for Osiris to crown his son Horus as the new ruler. When Horus dons his armor on a crowning day, he looks in the mirror and enjoys himself, but his beloved Hathor played by Elodie Young makes fun of him for being unprepared. The jewelry of 42 stars, which shields the goddess from the creatures who relentlessly pursue her, is a gift from Hathor, who adores her deeply. They attend the event where all the gods are gathered, and everyone celebrates and gives gifts. Regardless of the price of their sacrifices, Osiris informs the worshippers that everyone is equal since everyone will have a place in the afterlife. He summons his son Horus, the god of the air, and intends to crown him as Egypt's new king. The king's brother suddenly pops up from the crowd, abruptly ending their ceremony. He attacks his brother in the stomach in front of everyone and challenges Osiris to a battle for the throne. Set declares himself as the new king and changes the requirement for a sizable offering, which was intended to end the afterlife. Horus swiftly grabs the sword and starts attacking his uncle after witnessing his father die in his arms, hoping to exact revenge on the murderer. However, Horus quickly loses the fight after being knocked to the ground due to his emotions. Horus is furious and adopts his complete form, which causes Set to do the same. The two then engage in a battle in the skies. Buildings close by are destroyed during their fierce struggle, forcing everyone to flee for their lives. The gods keep fighting, ultimately falling back into the structures. Set instructs his soldiers to utilize their shields to deflect light beams toward Horus, blinding him. Set then seizes the chance and attacks his nephew repeatedly, landing several blows that knock Horus backwards. Set approaches his nephew, defeated on the ground, and declares that Horus is unworthy of being king. He gets hold of the god's face and begins to rip his eyes out while everyone watches helplessly. Horus screams in pain. In retrospect, Hathor emerges and offers Set to swap her partner with his nephew, which he eventually does. All the gods who opposed Set as the new monarch of Egypt were slain one by one, and the people were made into enslaved people. A young guy named Beck played by Brenton Thwaites manages to elude his captors by refusing to be made into an enslaved person. He eventually enters the city and finds himself in front of a palace where Set's chief architect keeps his lover Zaya, played by Courtney Eaton, enslaved. Beck surprises her when the woman's master departs and makes plans to abduct her, but Zaya tells him that it will be ineffective because the entire nation is in distress. She believes that her heavenly father is the one that will make the Egyptian people accessible. Thus she wants him to steal Horus's eyes from Set. Moving on, Beck discovers a depiction of Set's pyramid, where he conceals the source of his powers after Zaya takes him to the architect's library. The woman also reveals to her lover the vault's map outlining, designed with several traps by the architect to prevent anyone taking the valuables inside. Meanwhile, Beck pursues the treasure carriages from the rooftop at night and jumps into the gold-filled mounds within the cart. Large quantities of riches are hidden inside a tunnel, and Beck ultimately finds herself in a chamber beneath, directly in Horus's line of sight. The danger of the traps protecting the treasures is demonstrated by the fact that any error would result in the man's miserable death. He reaches the last bridge, but it starts to collapse swiftly, prompting him to sprint and leap in the direction of the mystical eye, grabbing it just in time. With the wonderful news, Beck quickly returns to Zaya, but while she apologizes, he discovers a problem. Zaya's master has learned about their scheme to rob the new king. He has surrounded Beck with warriors to catch and probably kill the thief. But Beck, who has quick reflexes, pulls the eye to temporarily blind his attackers, allowing him to flee with the Zaya. He shows Zaya the stolen treasure as he grabs the horses and flees the palace. Their joy is short-lived when Zaya takes a direct hit from an arrow in the chest, killing her right before him. With no other option, Beck rushes to the temple where Horus is housed and enters the gloomy palace to beg the god for assistance to make Zaya alive again. Horus senses the eye's presence and orders Beck to return it right away, but the man declines except if the deity can bring back Zaya. Horus has no choice but to start worshipping the girl's body, which summons Anubis, who drags the girl's spirit into the underworld. Beck is incensed to discover that Horus has virtually failed to save Zaya and has instead been abducted by the god and made to return the eye. Horus had intended to murder the man for his earlier audacity after regaining his vision. Still, he changed his mind when he discovered that the human had found the entrance to Set's pyramid. Horus decides to enlist the man's assistance and promises to return the girl if he becomes the king of Egypt. In the meantime, Set learns that the eye was stolen from his vault and accuses the architect of his incompetence. The god then dispatches his right-hand man to find and bring him the criminal mortal. Bek, meanwhile, has arrived with Horus on top of a mountain, where Horus begged his grandpa Ra, Jeffrey Rush, the sun god, to restore his ability to fly temporarily. Horus changes shape once more and flees from Earth before landing at a massive ship perched atop the planet. They observe the sun god Ra engaged in combat with the enormous demon Apophis, whose goal is to devour all creation. The giant monster is hit repeatedly by the elder deity's attacks, which cause it to veer off course and away from the planet. Returning to his grandson, Ra says that he is well aware of Horus' motivations but chooses not to take part in their disputes. Since all beings are his creations, he regards them all as equal, but he permits Horus to accept the miraculous liquid from the ship that can snuff out the Set's power inside the pyramid. Before they have time to unwind, Set's goons on the waterfall attack the two as they fly back to the planet and crash land. Even without his full might, Horus can trounce them. He starts dispatching them one by one with his spear. One of the recruits could escape the assault and return to his leader. He informs Set about the position of their adversary as well as the fact that Horus has vowed the mortal to bring the woman back to life, which seems to please the god even though he is aware that this is impossible. Set commands the soldiers in his force to hunt down and murder the mortal as soon as they see him. In the meantime, Hathor covertly keeps an eye on her beloved and notices that Horus is no longer in his father's temple. However, Set, who is spying on her from behind, discovers her betrayal. To avenge the betrayal, he rushes in to murder her, but Hathor removes her bracelets and is swiftly captured by multiple demons. After donning the jewelry again, she emerges from danger and starts searching for Horus, realizing that he is her only remaining ally. The scene cuts to Bek, and he spots a sandstorm approaching from behind and quickly realizes that it is Set's hunters riding on top of their enormous serpents. Horus lacks the strength to repel their pursuers, so the two starts fleeing right away. The two frantically flee as the enormous snakes pursue them, killing everything in their wake. They are forced to shelter behind the statue and creep inside the trenches as the monsters start to close in on them and spit fire in their direction. The hunter fights Horus viciously, forcing him to flee into the channels. Horus attempts to use his spear to attack the black serpent and briefly captures the beast by piercing its jaw. They couldn't stay hidden long, so Horus instructs Bek to entice one of the beasts away so he can attack from behind. The hunter notices the man as he flees towards the temple, and the snake follows closely after, spewing fire. Horus overtakes the beast and mounts its back to ambush the hunter by tying her to the animal. Horus narrowly avoids the snake's dash toward the cliff and its subsequent fall. Just in time, the two escape the crumbling structure, only to discover that Hathor has located them. While the hunter commands the monster to burn her, the woman approaches the enormous serpent without fear. Surprisingly, despite being commanded by the master of the snake herself, the creature won't pay attention. Hathor instructs the beast to burn itself, and the beast commences spewing fire on his body, burning its ruler as well. Horus tells Hathor that he intends to infiltrate Set's pyramid and get his power by putting out the fire in the desert. The goddess informs him that his scheme will fail since the evil deity has put an undefeatable guard, Sphinx, Kenneth Ransom, inside the structure to combat the intruders. Horus knew that only Thoth, Chadwick Boseman, the god of wisdom, could solve the creature's riddle, which is the only way to proceed without dying. They travel through the jungle until they reach the interior of a massive tree's roots, where they discover several of the deity's clones cooperating. Horus begs the god of wisdom to assist them in taking down the Sphinx, but the god declines, saying that his duty is far more essential than cracking a puzzle. Bek, however, starts to use the god's arrogance against him by saying that he is too terrified of answering incorrectly. Horus commends Bek for his quick thinking as the deity accepts the challenge since he is unwilling to take the chance of losing his ego. The group travels through the desert before arriving in the vicinity of a pyramid where every stone is moving at once. Fortunately, Bek can now recall the library maps and determine the appropriate opening to enter the magical structure. While the sands are still moving beneath his boots, he dashes into the middle, where he turns the wheel to calm the mayhem. They continue exploring the building until they arrive at a tunnel where a massive monster grows out of the ground. A creature emerges and puts the group to the test by posing a difficult question, but the god of wisdom can respond immediately. Horus is slammed against the walls when the Sphinx turns hostile because Horus's answer is not correct. Moving on, the monster grows more violent as Horus tries to respond several times, but he eventually succeeds and drives the beast away. They approach the well at the center of the earth, intending to use the magical water to reduce Set's power, but they are soon trapped by a snare that divides the squad. As everyone stands helplessly by, Set emerges from behind the god of wisdom and removes his brain. Beck tries to fill the well with water, but the god prevents him, reminding him that Horus deceived him about being able to bring Zaya back because no one has that kind of power. As soon as Beck realizes he has been duped, he takes the water and pours it on the ground. Set grins at their fruitless attempts and departed, causing the structure to collapse on top of them. Fortunately, Horus manages to escape just in time to shield everyone from the collapse. All of them manage to live, but Beck was furious with Horus for tricking him with lies and fake promises. When Heather notices this, she makes an effort to make up for it by removing her jewelry and giving it to Beck so that he might use it to enter the afterlife. Horus tries to stop his sweetheart, but she gives him one more kiss before the demons kidnap her. Horus weeps on the ground as he watches Heather sacrifice herself, but he eventually hands the jewelry to Beck so that he might spare her soul. Beck shows up just in time, reunites with his lover, and decides to prevent Zaya from being destroyed permanently before she is judged at the final gates. At the same time, Set unites all the abilities he acquired from the other gods, giving him wings and virtually unbeatable qualities. The deity visits his granddad and tells him about his strategy. Set wants to live forever, and the only way to make that happen is to make Apophis eat the entire afterlife to destroy it. Ra uses the spear to unleash a deadly explosion to stop his son, but Set escapes by channeling the abilities of all the gods. Ra is launched into space by the deity after he stabs the older man in the chest and steals the spear. Set returns to the city and starts inviting the enormous beast onto Earth so that it will eat everything in its path. While Anubis struggles valiantly to use his powers to rescue the realm, Beck observes that the afterlife's entrance is being disturbed. Zaya instructs Beck to return to Horus because only he can defeat Set and bring world peace. The two conclude that they must travel to Set before all is destroyed after seeing Beck return close to the deity. Fortunately, a flying vehicle prepared by the gods who oppose the evil deity emerges in front of them, allowing them to move swiftly in the direction of their foe. Apophis is lured toward the Niles at the same time that Set has arrived with the weapon of Ra, causing the monster to eat all in its path. When Horus lands on the pyramid, he attempts to attack his uncle, but Set is quick to defend himself. Furiously exchanging blows, the two engage in combat, but Set soon has the upper hand and brings Horus to the floor. Beck makes a surprise appearance from behind and uses a rope to halt Set before he can kill his nephew. The Set becomes enraged by this and morphs before charging at the man and knocking him against a wall. Horus is thrown to the roof, but Beck gets his attention. To help Horus restore his strength, Beck throws the spear his way while getting strangled by Set. As they descend from the lofty structure into the ground, Horus notices this and decides to save his friend. Horus unexpectedly succeeds in changing at the last second and saves the man before he plunges to his death. Horus realized that he wasn't weak because of the lost eye but rather because his heart was never in the right place, and Beck was shocked that the god regained his power without sight. The god starts slugging it out in the skies as Horus changes and soars toward Set. Horus is the target of Set's attempted spear attack, which is unsuccessful. The two enter the enormous tower, seriously harming it in the process. Horus can surprise him from behind, pushing him toward the walls and eventually tearing off his wings, sending him tumbling to the ground as the structure comes tumbling down with him. Set is fatally hurt by the fall as Horus sneaks up behind him and slays him with the Ra spear and kills him. Horus flies over to his grandfather in space and gives him the spear to resuscitate him. Apophis is forced to turn away from his creations and flee the land as Ra approaches the monster and repeatedly fires at its body. When Horus finally finds his second eye and returns to the city, he rediscovers who he is. As he approaches Beck, he discovers that the fellow has already passed away due to his prior injuries. To put their bodies together and provide them with a chance to rest, Horus carries him toward Zaya. Ra, however, makes a surprise appearance to praise his grandson and grants the god's wish by restoring the couple. Beck awakens with his lover Zaya, and the two rejoice by kissing. Finally throned as Egypt's new king, Horus informs the populace that rather than being assessed by the treasures one brings to the afterlife, one will be judged by the good deeds one performs while on earth. Following the crowning, Beck gives Horus the jewelry that belonged to Heather, and the god instantly changes into a bird and soars off to save his lover and be reunited with her. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video for more videos like this.